right. And then we should be getting started here. And then I'm going to come back to you here. Yeah. Okay, I think we're streaming live now. And so we're here live on Facebook. This is the Dr. Joel, the Stress Recovery Ninja, and we're going to talk to you guys about blood sugar basics. And I'm really excited because Dave Korsunski is here with us again. Thanks, Dave, for being with us and taking us through the basics of blood sugar basics. I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, my pleasure, Dr. Joel. I'm actually just coming from the tennis court, so I didn't have time to do much other than throw a baseball cap on. So I'm a little underdressed for the occasion, but nonetheless, we're going to cover some really good stuff.
Yeah, here we are. So we're in cash mode, and so I asked you, hey, why don't we do a little really easy, get basic kind of learn how to do your blood sugar and track it, because that's it can go real deep with this conversation, but let's keep it basic, Dave, and tell us, what's sort of the way that we can use Heads Up Health, and how do we go about with just the basic, hey, okay, I hear what you're saying. It's good to measure my blood sugar. What do you suggest from there?
Well, I think last time we spoke, you asked me at the end of the program, what would be your number one and most important thing you would tell someone who's really looking to get educated on their health. And for me, without question, it's blood sugar. And doesn't matter if you're diabetic, not diabetic, whatever your condition is, even if you're just trying to lose weight, the best tool that we have available to us is not the scale to tell us how we're losing weight. It's actually our blood sugar. And the thing to understand is that many of the conditions that we're dealing with, including adrenal fatigue, disrupted circadian rhythm, all of the things you're working on, are made much worse when we have dysregulated blood sugar. And it's hard to wrap your head around because you don't actually feel it. You know what I mean? You can go out and eat a food that sends your blood sugar to 150 milligrams per deciliter, but you don't actually really know. You kind of just go back about your day. And this may be happening 3, 5, 10, 20 times a day. And over time, that's what leads to damage. So learning how to test blood sugar is important. And then the other part that's really important is learning how to control your own blood sugar. And so let me give you an example. Let's say you've never tested your blood sugar before, and you test it in the morning and it's 95. Okay, fine, not a bad number. And then you say, I'm going to stop eating at 3 p.m. and go for a run, and then test it the next morning and it's down to 90. And then you say, I'm going to keep the carbs under 10 grams today, and it's down to 85. So you need to start learning how to control your blood sugar through lifestyle, not through medication. And that has to do with the type of food you eat, the type of exercise you do, the timing of your meals. So what I want to do today with your assistance is just start at the beginning, the basics, and show people how to get started. If you're looking to lose 20 pounds, the best thing you can do is get your blood sugar down to 85 and keep it there. So we're going to start with the basics today.
Cool. So let me just, a couple of things I want to touch on too, because lots of things you said in there. And so blood sugar, just to summarize, is a key starting point for a lot of reasons, like Dave mentioned. And when you're exhausted and burnt out, and you've been stressed for quite some time, not only is it coming down to the things that control blood sugar, like the foods that you're eating and the activity you're doing, and the percentages and so forth, and the timing, like Dave said. But for a lot of people, it's also just stress itself. And we forget about that, right? We forget about the fact that, oh my gosh, I just got stressed out. That releases adrenaline, it releases cortisol. And cortisol's job, as you know, Dave, is to get and mobilize glucose into the bloodstream for that fight or flight after the adrenaline has been released, which that's a whole other story, which impacts glucose on a whole other level, right? But the thing is that those things impact glucose too. And then not to mention, let's say you do have a microbe growth, or you do have pathogens that are overgrowing and so forth and so on. That too is establishing a role on glucose as well. So that even puts more of an emphasis and importance on tracking your glucose and starting to raise the antenna and the flag or the awareness. Like you said, you don't feel when it goes to 159. You don't know what that feels like because that's your new normal. And your new normal is crap. You don't feel good. So you don't know, I'm just feeling more crap still, right? So bottom line is, you touch up on a lot of points there in terms of, yeah, you need to start with blood sugar. And you really brought it for my crowd. Like, hey, I don't know how much my crowd's looking to lose 20 pounds, probably more, right? But there's a whole other side that can't put on weight, that are catabolic.
Yeah.
And that are exhausted and can't get out of bed. So bottom line, nothing changes there, right? Too, in terms of the need for looking at glucose. So tell us, like, what, you know, in terms of now Heads Up Health has this, why is this even, you know, why is this so cool, really, with the way that you do it?
Well, because blood sugar is connected to everything else. So when you can look at your blood sugar next to, for example, your weight, or look at your blood sugar next to your heart rate variability, which is a metric of stress, or look at your blood sugar next to things like inflammation or markers for diabetes. So what we're going to show here is how you can holistically look at all of this information together. But let's just start with the basics for people. Like, how do you even go buy a glucometer? I'm not diabetic. I don't know what you crazy guys are talking about. Telling me to go test my blood sugar. You're crazy. The doctor never said to do this.
Hey, do you want to do a quick ad lib though? Just sorry to interrupt you. Do you want to compare mine to yours right now?
Sure.
Real time?
Yeah, let's do it. Do you have a Keto Mojo?
Yeah, man. I got it right here.
All right. So if you don't have a glucometer, for those people who just want to get started, super basic, we use the Keto Mojo because it does blood sugar and ketones. Doesn't matter. Go to Walgreens, go to CVS, get a glucometer. And
well, I would still interrupt. It does matter in the sense that right now there's no other technology really. And, you know, I used to recommend Precision Extra, and that's when I met Dorian, and I was like, I'm so glad this is legitimate, where I don't have to go in a back alley and negotiate with someone who doesn't want their precision anymore and pay for off limited expired things and figure out how I'm going to get it through eBay. Right now, this is the option. Right? Yeah. This is the option. So it does matter. And, you know, you go through this, and I have a lot of people who do the glucose monitor, which is great. If you're going to do anything, glucose monitor. But I always ask them, what's going on with your ketones? Because if you're getting at a certain level and you don't know your level of your ketones, you may misinterpret that as hypoglycemic, and you're still getting energy. And I would say, like, knock it off. You're not going to die of hypoglycemia. You have energy going on in your body. You need to realize that stress response is adrenaline, and that's a need for dopamine. That's a completely different story, you know?
Well, I'm a huge advocate of the Keto Mojo. Like you said, for the longest time, we did not have access to an affordable meter that could do both. I used to use the Bayer Contour. I used to use the Precision Extra. I'd have to, like you said, get the strips on eBay, who the heck knows where. But pretty much everybody these days is using this one.
Strips? You got any strips? Yeah, how much you selling it for?
Cash only. Cash only. So everybody's using this one now, and it syncs automatically with Heads Up Health. So here's the glucometer. You put the strip in. If you've never done this before, it's going to light up. Are we doing the test?
Yeah. You're taking you know what though? A lot of people don't even know this because they don't know. So you get these little lancets, and you have to actually take the little cap off. You put it in the actual lancet. Now I don't have the lancet that came with the Keto Mojo. I use a different one.
I'll do the test here if you can see this.
Yeah, and then yours is gonna be way better than mine because I just had some.
I didn't get enough droplet of blood.
I
botched it, man. That is totally JV. I can't believe I screwed that up on the.
You did that on live too.
Oh man, that is embarrassing. Let me try that again.
Yeah.
Hold on a sec, dude.
I'm a total
poser here, man.
Big city. That's what happens. All right. So I'm
No, that
doing
one I got.
ketones first. And you know what? Some people have difficult time getting it right on the strip too. And that,
85.
okay, I'm at 1.1 with my ketones.
Hey, that's a pretty sweet number.
Not bad. I'm surprised.
We're digressing a bit here, but we'll explain what all this stuff means here momentarily.
You did your keto. I did my ketones first. Now my glucose. I bet my glucose is high because I just had something else. So I've been both ketones and glucose.
I can't let Joel Rosen beat me on the ketones.
80, baby. 80.
I can't.
Wow.
I gotta take him out. Come on. Oh, there it is. 1.7.
Wow. Nice.
There we go.
What was
Anyhow,
your glucose? What was your
85.
glucose?
85.
So that's good topic because there's lots of interesting things there, right?
Yeah, exactly. My glucose was higher, but my ketones were higher. But let's back it up even more than that. I think a lot of people here have never tested before. Is that a safe assumption, Joel, or no?
For sure. A lot of people haven't, but it's on their radar, and they probably have started. At least the ones that I work with and are on my page, they're already doing it, but they don't understand the ketone component. But
Gotcha.
anyways, you're right. That a lot of them aren't doing that at all.
So I would say if you've never done it before, get glucometer. We recommend the Keto Mojo. Test it first thing in the morning for 3 days straight. Don't worry too much about what you're doing. That's called a fasting blood sugar, which just means you haven't eaten for 8 hours. Typically, you wake up in the morning before you have your coffee, your breakfast. Just test it in the morning and make note of that number. Typically, if you're not diabetic or pre-diabetic, you're going to be below 100. If you're pre-diabetic, I think it's 100 to 120. And if it's above 120 fasting, my understanding is that's type 2. So get your baseline numbers. Doesn't matter what they are. Don't worry too much about it. Just test 3 times in the morning. Now you have a baseline of your fasting blood sugar. That's the most important number for me, as I test it every morning, because I know that it gives me an indication of how many carbs I ate the day before, how much exercise I did before, if I had too much sugar. And you'll start to see when your diet starts to tighten up, your fasting blood sugar in the morning, oh man, it's coming down. All I'm doing is changing my diet, my exercise, doing a little meditation. Before on my baseline, it was 95. I can get that down to 85, no problem. That's when the magic starts happening. That's when weight loss starts happening, ketones start coming up, all of the benefits of regulated blood sugar. So the first thing is take it in the morning and make a note of it. And I'll share my screen here, Joel, just so you can see how I track this stuff. And you can see I've got my blood glucose right on the dashboard here. The other thing you want to test is after you eat. This is probably even more important. And there's a big difference between eating 1,000 calories that came from, say, salmon and a slice of bacon and some spinach salad versus 1,000 calories that came from refined processed carbs. So test your blood sugar 1 hour and 2 hours and 3 hours after your favorite meals and keep it as low as possible. If you can eat a meal and your blood sugar is below 110, that is ideal. If it's below 120, that's still pretty good. So the key is to start learning how to make food choices. And that's why a high-fat diet works so well, because you get really nice and full, but you're not eating all the carbs that send your blood sugar through the roof. So what you're training your body to do is to understand the association between food and how it raises your blood sugar. And that is metabolic mastery. When you can say, okay, I've tested, I know that I can eat this food, and 1, 2, 3 hours, I'm never going to get above 120. Or if you really want to take it down above 110. That's what we're trying to get people to understand. One slice of white bread is disastrous on your blood sugar. I don't know, you probably know better than I do, but one slice of white bread is like 10 teaspoons of sugar. And most people have no idea. And there is high fructose corn syrup, i.e. sugar, in everything. Ketchup, mustard, pretty much everything we can jam high fructose corn syrup it's in. That is also a blood sugar disaster. So the point of all this is start testing your blood sugar after your favorite foods, keep it nice and low, and that is going to help really regulate your blood sugar and everything that is affected by blood sugar. So that's how I use my glucometer, Joel. And I'm just a non-diabetic healthy guy who wants to stay healthy. And that's how I use the glucometer. That ketones is a separate topic, but that's how I do my blood sugar testing.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. I'll tell you, I have a couple caveats to what you do, which you have like firsthand experience. And the great thing that you do, which you mentioned as well, is you baseline it for 3 days, and then you start to see how does that relate to my weight and my blood pressure, and you can get more sophisticated. But the other thing that I like to do is I don't necessarily make them do it 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, which I think they should. But here's the thing. I think that's more of an emphasis for really being high quality food choices, so you could see the impact that crappy food choices have on you. Whereas I tell people, like, look, you shouldn't be having crappy food choices anyways, and you should be aware that the closer it comes down below, and it's in those 72 to 90 ranges most of the day, all day, as much as it possibly can be. Then I have them just really do it before meals mostly, so that they get a concept, Dave, of, am I hungry or am I being fueled? And that changes the definition of food.
Totally does.
But I mean, you still have a pleasure for it, but it changes the context a lot. And then, but that being said, the other things too that I like with that baseline is I'll do it right when they first wake up, and then right before their first meal, which a lot of the time isn't the same time. A lot of times it's close, and a lot of times it's a little bit later. And I want them to figure that out, where if it's still above 90, and your glucose and your ketones are low or high, I don't know if you should be thinking you need to eat right now. I think that's a paradigm shift I want to have for people, because I think that they have to understand, what did I eat the night before? How close am I clearing my glucose? Did I have other stressors? Am I inflamed? And that changes around the definition of what they need the food for, right? In terms of their glucose is really high. Would you say with a lot of your users that a lot of the times that they're not below 100, like most of America, when they test their glucose before they, when they first get up in the morning, or high 90s?
It's hard for me to say. I mean, I know that I was on a paleo diet for a really long time. It was the first time I got off the standard American diet, when I first started learning about my health. And even on a Paleolithic diet, there was really nobody telling me to understand what foods were raising my blood sugar. Rice and fruit and banana, some of these things are technically paleo. They're whole unprocessed foods, but I still had no mental association between food and blood sugar. And honestly, if I tested blood sugar, I wouldn't even know what 95 meant. I was really kind of a beginner. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then when I started learning about keto, that's when they said, okay, start testing your blood sugar. Line is 95. So, I mean, if I just go reload all of my body's carbohydrates, eat a pizza or whatever, the next morning I'm going to be at 95. That's just where my body's at 42 years old. And I have some history of insulin resistance. So that's kind of my baseline when I'm not on a low carb diet. Well, when I am on a low carb diet, as you can see this morning, I was 74. And then the day before that, I was 82. So just through dietary change alone makes a massive impact. So
sure. Yes.
I would say most people who are not following some kind of low carb diet, or who are not on glucose lowering medications, it would hard to say. I would absolutely say that it's well into the hundreds for a fasting blood sugar.
It really is. I mean, it's
I don't know. You've seen it more. I don't work with patients, and I don't have access to data like that. So, you might know more what the average is of just the average person out there.
Well, I think that because you're creating this model where, we can test and keep real-time data of lots of people. even if you just got all of LabCorp stuff, I think that the average baseline of glucose can be in the 90 to 100 range, but
it's got to be higher, man. Yeah.
It is higher, but the people the concern that I have are the people that are in the 90s, that are 95, like you were talking about when you're off, and then when you're on, you're in the 72s and 80s. Those are, even if you're 1 or 2 points away, though, you're not getting the point. It's impacting your inflammatory markers, and you are exceeding your carb threshold, and that's very inflammatory, and it's gonna break down your body. So
totally.
I think that that's really cool, Dave, in terms of what you got here. So what's really cool too is that as far as the syncing of all of this, which I don't think we mentioned, but with the Keto Mojo, when you have the USB now, it will go into your Keto Mojo, and then that will go right up into Heads Up Health. I mean, can't get any better than that, right?
Well, Keto Mojo is a great partner of ours, and the founder, Dorian, he's a friend of mine, he's a friend of yours. And when he brought this meter to market, I said, Dorian, there's not one ketone meter on the market that lets you sync the readings with any of your other data. Because the Precision Extras and the others, they didn't have Bluetooth, and it didn't sync. So that's the beautiful thing about the Keto Mojo, is it just automatically uploads my readings. So I can actually, I don't have my Bluetooth adapter here. Oh, I do. I'll do it here in a second. I'll sync that reading with the Keto Mojo app.
Yeah. And while you're doing that, it's really interesting too, because I think the bottom line, what I was going to finish off on what you were saying, Dave, is that bottom line is to get your baselines and improve upon your baselines. If you said, how much should I go into the gym and lift? What would be the best for me? It's like, I don't know how strong you are or what limitations you have, but I know that you start with a baseline and you improve upon the baseline. And that's the key with this, right? In terms of data tracking, is improve upon your baselines and start to see how that impacts your health favorably, right, Dave?
I think so, and I think the main message is to also start developing that mind-body awareness and start understanding the connection between blood sugar and lifestyle choices, diet, sleep, exercise. It's all within your control. And once you start learning, hey, I can get it down to 85 anytime I want, and I feel 10 times better when my blood sugar is at 85, my ketones are at 1.0. If you get to that level of control, you have such a leg up in your battle in health, prevention. Yeah. So that will be the take home point, is just, it's a little awkward at first. I don't know. The first time I did the drop of blood, I probably made a mess all over the place and screwed it up a few times. But actually learned
today, brother. You even screwed up today, remember?
I did, live on the air. Yeah. I screwed up, man. I've only done it 10,000 times. I still screw it up. But tell people just, why do you get these metabolic diseases in the first place? PCOS, cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, all these things. It's because our blood sugar is all effed up. And nobody knows, because we're just eating all this stuff that F's up our blood sugar. So if you learn how to control it, you are ahead of 99% of the people out there. And
this is an awesome seminar. This is awesome because it's true. I mean, it's really good that we're doing this. It's a really great thing. And if I could just piggyback off what you said, which I think is so true beyond, again, the impact that people realize, is when you make that connection of what is the awareness. I always call it raising the antenna, the awareness hat.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Yeah.
When you make that awareness, and really what you're doing is you are on a frequency, weird kind of woo-woo level, creating a frequency of knowing what's going on in your body at the cellular level. But anyways, with that being said, you have more what I call, and what other people have named, metabolic flexibility. I heard about that through Alessandro Ferretti, and basically you have much more flexibility to be human and live your life and have fun and be able, I've been under more stress just lately, and I was really super surprised, got to be honest with you, to see my 80 at my glucose. And one point I thought my glucose would have been higher and my ketones would have been
that's
lower.
Perfection, considering you're stressed out. Those are great numbers.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is that you're not going to have everything dialed in perfectly all the time. But when you dial in the core, and like you're saying, your blood sugar, and being awareness, and that awareness of how it's impacting you, and the awareness of your body, now it's not about, medications. It's not about 1,001 different supplements. It's about awareness. It's about awareness, right? Would you agree with that?
100%. I was just thinking about this one woman who used to help us with marketing, and she said she's gonna try the low carbohydrate diet, and all of a sudden she just started sleeping like a rock, and she had not made the connection, but just actually keep blood sugar under control, starting to remove the highly processed foods and other things that raise blood sugar, sleep went up as well. So it is about all of the other variables that get affected. But man, if people can just learn how to use these two numbers, then it is probably the most powerful thing you could take away from everything I've learned. It's all about learning how to control our metabolism.
Totally. So with that being said, because we want to give nice little chunks of information, and I twisted your arm to do this as on a weekly basis. But what do you think is a good topic building on this now? Maybe just talk a little bit about the ketones and what that means. I think going into that and talking about, we got to remember, well, you were 1.7, I was 1.1, and then you were 85, I was 80, I think. Was that right?
I think so.
But anyways, we can talk a little bit about what the numbers mean, I think, in terms of ketones.
Yeah, let's cover the ketones on the next episode.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I just want to leave one more. If people don't have a keto mojo, okay, and I think we should give everybody a homework assignment, okay, because that makes it real for people. I would say between now and doing the next one.
We do this on a weekly basis. I have your contract.
Did I sign up for that?
Yeah,
did I
it was
sign that
notarized.
contract?
Don't you remember? I saw it
man.
notarized.
Oh, man. All right. So between now and next Tuesday, if you're following along at home, go get a glucometer and check your blood sugar in the morning for 3 consecutive days. And if you want to use Heads Up Health, you can do it. All you do is the plus button, and it's going to ask you to punch in your values. That's it. Just get some basic data in the system and start to learn about your baseline for your fasting blood sugar. If you want some extra credits, I don't know, test your blood sugar 2 hours after your favorite breakfast. And you were also saying before your favorite breakfast too, Joel, right?
Yeah.
So I would say three baseline readings in the morning, and then check it 2 hours after your favorite meal. And now you've started to get some data, and you've made it real. So anything you would add to that?
Yeah, I would say that just the act of tracking things makes you aware of it. I was just listening to a study this morning that says real human behavioral changes. We know a lot of the times what we need to do. It's just whether they stick or not. And real behavioral changes that stick are ones that are tracked. And that was from a book called Why We Sleep, and it's a great book. And so anyways, I got to reach out to him and then introduce you to him too, because I think I gotta know. So anyways, but I would say that, and I appreciate your time, man. So next Tuesday we have it set in stone. You sign with your blood, and then it was notarized. So you're here. So
you're gonna shame me if my ketones aren't good. So I got to really stay on top of my game.
Now that I know, I might do a little extra preparing.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to it. So hopefully this is helpful. Next time we'll talk about the ketones. There's a lot of other numbers we can get into. We just really want to keep it simple and have some basic concepts to start people with. So basic blood sugar testing, in my humble opinion, the most important thing you can learn.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks so much, man. And we'll see you next week.
Sounds great, brother.
Take care.